Well, thanks for taking some time to talk to us, and thanks for coming up to Sudbury, talk to all of Sudbury and Northern Ontario. What did you think of the debate?
First of all, I love coming to Sudbury. I told the story of years ago. I worked at Bell Canada, and I was responsible for our corporate social responsibility, including Northern Ontario. So I visited and I watched the Sudbury Theatre do a production of Cowgirls. So I know that's dating me a little bit, but I love coming to the North. It's such an amazing part of Ontario, and really to be respected and known. So it's a privilege to be here. I thought the debate went very, very well tonight. All the candidates really spoke to the needs in the North, and this is a very special part of Ontario. So I said a strong North is a stronger Ontario, and I really mean that.
Awesome.
So I found it very interesting. You were talking a bit about you've been traveling up to Northern Ontario. I think you said Moosey or Moose Factory, I believe is one of them, Mayor and Cochrane. So you've been talking to some of the First Nations communities, some of the municipalities, which is very important. So my question would be, what other issues are you hearing from them? I know you talked about healthcare and traveling, but what else have you heard?
Absolutely. I'm a leader who actually goes and sees and is a very visible part of my leadership. As the former Minister of Education, I would visit one school each week. So visited lots of times in the North and actually led funding increases to northern and rural schools multiple times. In fact, one of my first increases was to mental health services for students in the North, because there were issues that were happening here that were unique to the North, and I felt that they needed to be addressed. Once issues are identified, I call them out. I may not be in a position to address them all the time, but I don't forget them. And when I have the opportunity to address them, I do just that. And talked about, my tour going to the far north was very eye-opening. I went to Summer Beaver and Niminovik and really saw the need for electricity, clean water, education, and that never left me. And so when I became education minister, I tried to address that in multiple ways, not just waiting for approvals, but actually taking action, and in collaboration and in conversation with Indigenous people and with local school board leaders. You know, there are many needs that we have in our province, and I think that what I understand from Northerners is that Northerners want to be respected, and they don't want to be alienated or forgotten. They don't want to be a divide, north and south. And I believe in a united Ontario, and I think that starts with access to health care and people having that well-being, making sure, and that's why I brought mental health for everyone under the age of 30. It's sort of that first step or down payment on universal mental health supports. Making sure that we have education at all levels, from K to 12, and that there are good outcomes. My goal is a bold one for 90% graduation rate, and that includes young people in the North, and that they have access to post-secondary education, colleges, university, and training in trades. There's a skills shortage in the North. I talked about that. I was in Timmins. I've been to Timmins probably 3 times in the last 12 months.
Oh, wow.
And when I was there, I toured ACOM and their sawmill right in the town. Very impressed with their use of technology, how environmentally stewarding and conscious they were of using every part of that wood, that very precious natural resource, and replenishing it and making sure that we have a renewable forest industry for the next 100 years. One of their big challenges getting the skilled talent and labor force. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I know that Northerners talk about the retention of young people and, making sure that they have access to good jobs. So we got to put those two together. We also have a climate crisis happening right now, and it's affecting the North. It's also opening up changes in terms of agriculture and production. And so how do we make sure that Northerners are prepared for that they indeed own any of the opportunities that are ahead of us in terms of growth and development of the North. And that includes, of course, the conversation around the Ring of Fire. We need to take leadership around that. We need to work with Indigenous people, sit down as partners at the table, and sort out that opportunity in a fair way.
So you talked a bit about keeping youth in the North or attracting youth. That's definitely a big issue for the cities in Northern Ontario. I know one of the big skill shortages is tech workers in Northern Ontario. People working for mines doing coding, some of the mining supply service companies, even on the forestry side, that tech sector that is the support for those to get to the next level. We're having a hard time getting those people to move to Northern Ontario. How would you help us get there?
That is a real passion of mine. I started my career in technology. I mentioned I worked for Bell Canada, but I also worked to develop the tech cluster for the GTA, connecting with Ottawa, connecting with Kitchener-Waterloo and Communitac. And so the opportunities in the North, I believe, are aligned with the powerful industries that we have here, whether that's in forestry or mining, which are highly technology-driven and dependent, because the enhancements that we gain from technology reduces cost of production and therefore makes them more sustainable. Therefore, they can hire more people and stay in their towns and in their communities longer. And so it is in our best interest to have a pipeline of talent, young people, also those who are changing careers in technology, and showing them that there are good, well-paying jobs in tech. I'm very excited about my education policy as the former Minister of Education, because it focuses on science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So it focuses on STEAM so that we can build that pipeline of talent. I want to also say something that I noticed when I was Education Minister. I went to Pelican Falls, and there's a high school there for Indigenous youth who are coming from reserve, and they have a program that focuses on robotics and coding. And in fact, the Indigenous students are naturally gifted in that space. And it was something that I felt we should encourage and we should nurture those types of pathways and opportunities so that young people from all communities really are taking advantage of this changing economy and see themselves playing a role in that as well.
So I'm a woman, very interested in politics, a passion of mine. So as one of the 3 female candidates, which is super exciting for me to see up there, why do we need more women in politics? Why do we need more diversity? What would you say to women who are thinking about running? I
believe it's unnatural not to. Look at, Canada's premiers right now.
Right.
One woman and all men, and really of the same background.
Right.
That's unnatural. That's not how this room looked tonight. There was a variety of genders. And so it's important that we support women in the opportunity to lead this province. Premier Wynne was the first woman in the history of our province to become premier. We definitely should not let that stand. It should be normal for girls to look at leadership and to see either gender. It should not be an unusual thing to have, women seeking to lead a party and a province. So, I look forward to the Ontario Liberal Party and its convention coming up on March 7th, 2020, and for it to be a historic election, as it always is, because it is an opportunity to have a new face, new voice, new ideas for the future of this province, and it absolutely can be a woman.
A follow-up on that, actually. So I'm a white male. White male built the system. And obviously for the system to be fair, you need diversity in the system to create a system that is fair, right? So what would you say to men about how do we help create a system that's fair?
Become allies. I think that's really important. And notice. I talked about my leadership style as one of, you've got to see, pay attention, and then take action. So become allies and give space for diverse leadership, for inclusive leadership, and don't accept it as normal when there's only one gender making the decisions, and building a system that really only they understand. That's not fair. That's not acceptable anymore. And so, one of the reasons why I put my hat in the ring, a year ago, almost to the day, I really gave the party a challenge, which is to change how we select our leader and introduce one member, one vote as a potential for opening up the party, for making every vote count, whether that's a woman or a man or a youth. Make every vote count in this party. And it received a majority. Almost 60% of the delegates voted for that change, but it needed a supermajority according to the rules. And so it fell just shy. But I believe that this convention will be the last that we have of this type of model. We're the only major party in Canada that does that, and that needs change. Today, I introduced a vote holiday, which will give a statutory holiday on voting day, so that more people can participate in our democracy, more people can get involved, young people can get involved, people of all backgrounds, all ages can get involved. They don't have to take time off work and risk losing income, making democracy really, really matter, really count. I was the member that introduced ranked ballots as well for municipal elections at the time. It became a government bill, became law, and the City of London actually ran a ranked ballot election in the last municipal election. Why not bring that at the provincial level and make sure that who we elect earns 50+% of the vote? Getting that right to govern by getting the majority of people on their side. That makes elections probably a little bit more I was going to say palatable for maybe for more women to get into politics, knowing that the debates and the climate is going to be a little bit more respectful and fair, because you not only have to speak to people who support you, but you have to speak to people who support all of the candidates, and so it really moderates the tone in elections.
Fascinating for us. I know we've had many conversations about ranked ballots, and actually I, along with Danielle, helped organize our last municipal election here in Sudbury. And we followed London very closely. So anyways, we could have lots of conversations on that. But to end off our interview, we do want to ask you a couple fun questions. So I'll start off. If there's one song that you could think of that would get you up just dancing, what would it be?
Bob Marley. Anyone, One Love, Song of the Century. My Jamaican roots are showing here. I was born in Jamaica and just grew up, my dad had a jukebox in the basement of our house, and so that would be my song.
All right. I'm going to stick with the song theme, but a different twist on it. What's the song that you really don't want people to find out you sing in the car?
All kinds of ballads. No, it's not cool girl listening to reggae. It's like ballads, and I love all genres of music, and I used to work for a gentleman who introduced me to opera, and so I love that. Sometimes I listen, and jazz, obviously reggae. We talked about that, but probably the ballads. It reminds me of high school,
That's great. Well, thank you very much for chatting with us, Mitzie. That was a pleasure, and hopefully we'll see you in Sudbury again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Oh.